All right, good evening and welcome to the County Commissioner meeting on July 16th. Want to go ahead and call Apostle Michael Chambers, Sr. from Christian Believers Center to perform our invocation.
Amen. Well, good afternoon, everyone.
Amen.
Thank you for the invitation to come just to do the invocation of prayer. I was thinking about coming up here today, and the Lord dropped something in my spirit that I want to share just real briefly. Just a word of encouragement. There's a clarion call for unity all over the land, for people who are so divided and separated. So I asked God twice. I said, Lord, are you sure you want me to do this? And it's like, okay, I got to be obedient. So out of the book of Ephesians, chapter 4, I'm just going to read three verses of scripture, and it says, I, Paul, therefore, a prisoner of the Lord, beseech you to walk worthy of the calling which you were called, and with all lowliness and gentleness, with long suffering, bearing with one another in love. And then he says, endeavoring to keep the unity of the Spirit and the bond of peace. And I'm like, Lord, well, what is it that I need to say? And I want to leave this with you, not that you don't know who you are or what you're called to, but the Lord wants to remind us that you were called to these positions, that you just didn't put your picture on a ballot, on a bulletin and then decided to run. He called you to be the leadership of this community and this county because of your heart and your passion for the things of this community. So God also says that we're more effective when we work together than we are divided. So I encourage you to continue to keep him in the midst of it. I'm so excited to see that people start sessions like this by honoring him. And that's what prayer is. It's giving reverence to the Most High God. So just continue to work out if there's any indifferences, work them out. You know, you're a team. And you guys are the ones that he's holding accountable for the decisions that you make that affect the lives of the people that live in this community. So with that being said, again, thank you, and let's go to the Lord in prayer. Father, we just honor you this afternoon, and we thank you for this opportunity. And we just invoke your presence right now, God. I pray for these commissioners that are on this board, God, that are working together for the benefit of Anson County. I pray for their relationships, God, that they will become closer one with another, God. Father, just reiterate and reestablish in their hearts, oh God, that they are team players, oh God. And the decisions that they make, God, will affect the lives of the people of Anson County. So I pray for the spirit of unity and oneness to be poured out upon them right now, God, as they engage in their many decisions that have to be made, God. We honor you right now for what you're going to do in their lives, oh God, and what they're going to do in this community, God. We thank you that their steps have been ordered by you. Father, for all authority is orchestrated and delegated by you, oh God. And this is the leadership of Anson County. So we pray once again, and we thank you right now for moving forward, oh God. We put the past behind us, oh God, and we embrace now in our future. And we thank you right now for what you've done and that you will do. And I just decree a clean heart and a renewed mind and spirit in each one of these commissioners, oh God, as they work together, being effective and making decisions that will be best for Anson County. And we decree it in Jesus' name. We pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you for that, Apostle Chambers.
Sorry, I need to get something.
Yes.
Madam Clerk, please. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. I have something for you too. My apologies for being late.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to read the ethics statement before we get started. In accordance with the State Government Ethics Act, it is the duty of every board member to avoid both conflicts of interest and appearances of conflict. Does any board member have any known conflict of interest or appearances of conflict with respect to any matter coming before the board tonight? If so, please identify the conflict and refrain from any undue participation in the particular matter involved. Hearing no known conflicts, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, if there are no changes or additions, deletions, I make a motion that we approve the agenda as presented.
Second. I have a motion by Commissioner Gatewood to approve the agenda, seconded by Commissioner Bricken. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. I'll just take a minute to remind the board that we did adopt I don't know if you want to call it a policy of voting by show of hands. Just reminding everyone for the public, we will vote by showing of hands on all votes. All right, moving down to the consent agenda. Have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented, and I did read it.
Okay. All right, have a motion by Commissioner Gatewood to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any second?
I second it.
All right, have a second by Commissioner Little Reed. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, appearances. First we have Hazen and Sawyer. And if you'll just give us 1 second, we're having a issue with our live stream.
Mr. Chairman, please.
Yes.
So they can do mental health transport. That's all that's by the jail. Something's mandated. It's part of the service they have to do. So they don't have to do it themselves.
Yeah.
Patient health does it.
Add it to the agenda, or you want me to do it under chairman's?
If you could, or whichever way you want to do it, just as long as they can review it. I'll do a presentation. Right, the sheriff can do a presentation if you'd like.
Let me just do it in chairman's report.
That'd be perfect. No problem. Thank you.
Okay, we're ready. Okay, you can proceed with the presentation now.
Okay, so you can see the presentation on your
So
screen?
all commissioners should have a copy of the presentation he's going to present tonight.
Well, I appreciate the invitation to come in and talk to you about really give an update on a number of projects that we're working with the utilities department on. I'm David Riley with Hazen and Sawyer. Ian Yancey is here as well. And really no kind of rhyme or reason on kind of the order, but going to the next slide, looking at the agenda, first we're going to talk about the water treatment plant filter rehabilitation project, and then we're doing a couple of AIA projects, one on the drinking water side and one on the wastewater side. Both of those, the county received some grant money on those AIA projects. And then lastly, we'll talk a little bit about lead and copper projects. Yeah, so jumping into the filter rehabilitation project. So that was driven by a couple of things, but one of them being that there's two of the filters at the water treatment plant are out of service due to some significant leakage. And so, we have, first did a kind of evaluation, identified what the repairs were, and then have completed a design. So that plant's got eight filters. The first set, dates back to late 60s, late 80s. The filters 5 through 8 were constructed in the early 90s. That set of filters is where you've got two of them that are currently out of service due to some leakage. So the project includes replacing media, dealing with those kind of structural issues, and fixing the leak repair in several filters. That will require under drain replacement.
Excuse me, I'm just going to ask, can you speak into the microphone so our audience can hear?
Sorry.
Hey,
I tend to kind of want to move around.
I understand.
Replacement of the under drain, which is at the bottom of the filter, backwash troughs, as well as some slide gates and motor actuators. reconfiguring some of the air piping. You know, half the filters have the capability for air scour, which is more effective for cleaning the media. The older filters don't have that, so part of this project we'll get that updated, which includes replacing the air scour blower, which you see in this picture. It's aging piece of equipment and needs to be replaced. They've got some other improvements kind of at the plant to kind of enhance like the resiliency and reliability. One of them putting this pipe in that kind of connects the east side of the plant to the west side of the plant. Right now, the plant kind of operates, those two parts of the plant kind of operate independently, but so providing kind of an interconnection in between the set basin effluent before it goes into the filters will add some reliability to the plant. And our last, update of the opinion of probable cost is shown here. So just under $9 million to do the full rehab of all 8 filters and everything that we had identified as a near-term need. Now that was a much higher number than what we thought initially. I mean, as we got into design, discovered some more issues to deal with. So so on this screen, we decided when we bid this project, we'll set up some different bid alternates. Ideally, we'll have enough funding that we could do all the work because there's really a need for all of it. However, we kind of broken it up so that the county can kind of make a decision on how to move forward after we take the bids and see what those final costs look like, with kind of the base being the stuff that you see in red or pink, and that would really deal with, that's the part of the plant where 2 filters are out of service, so that's really a high priority. And then I've got bid alternates for some of the other filters that are on the east side. So that gives us a little more options, once we have kind of the final cost. And I know the county is, continuing to kind of seek some additional funding sources as well. So the general schedule, we started doing the evaluation and design last October. We completed design as of early May. Have submitted that to the state for permitting. There's kind of 2 different permitting steps. One is North Carolina Public Water Supply. They're the ones that issue authorization to construct for any upgrades to the water treatment plant. But we also need to submit to the Infrastructure Authority, since we did receive funding for that project. So that's where we're at the moment, awaiting comments and review and approval from those 2 agencies. Our hope is that get comments back and get approval from them so that we can advertise towards the end of August. The funding award does come along with some milestones. One of them being that we have construction contracts executed by the end of the year, which we'd love to meet that, but our next step would be to advertise, which we also need review and approval from them. So next I'm going to talk about asset and inventory assessment on the drinking water side. The county received an ARPA grant for this work. It has been ongoing. We expect to have it completely wrapped up by the end of the year. One big piece of that is looking at the water treatment plant, where we're kind of doing a comprehensive evaluation of the condition assessment, how it's performing, how it's operating, and identify any needs. That'll also look at a rate study where we can, once we've identified the needs, conduct a rate study to see what the impact would be on rates from the work. There's also a hydrant inventory as a piece of that, which is being conducted as a part of some of the lead and copper work. So a part of that AIA was to look at water demand projections for the county. We've seen some slight population decline over the last couple of decades. A big part of the water sales, the production of that treatment plant is for wholesale uses. That took a step back with Union County backing off of their sales. They were purchasing a lot of water. They have completed their own project, and so they've gotten an additional supply. But basically, the bottom line is that we're projecting water use to be, or at least like kind of maximum day, what the peak water use would be about 12 MGD over the next 20 years. And so that peak day water demand is really what drives treatment plant capacity. And of course, this time of year where it's getting so hot and dry, and we see a lot of outdoor uses, is when usually that kind of peak day demand can tend to occur. We're also evaluating, hydraulics, just what's the hydraulic capacity of the different flumes and pipes, and can we push water through the plant, and, identifying any deficiencies, there, and coming up with recommendations. On some of these slides, I think I'll, in the interest of time, just kind of hit some of the highlights. Chemical systems, we've evaluated a lot of the chemical storage and feed systems, and probably each system has some level of rehabilitation that's needed. There's certainly a strong need to have SCADA integration for the chemical systems. SCADA systems are essentially the computer control system at a treatment plant. We've also done a structural condition assessment for the structures around the plant. And of course, this is an aging facility, so not surprising that there's a number of needs identified. So the next couple of slides shows, for the different facilities throughout the treatment plant, what are some of the needs that we've identified that, and kind of broken them up into a couple of categories. One, here's some work that needs to be done if we need to get 10 more years of life out of this plant, and then maybe the county's thinking about replacing the facility, or if we're looking at this treatment plant, we're going to reinvest in it, fix the things that need fixing, and rely on this for 20 or more years, then there's some additional things that would be on that list. Of course, one of those, y'all have probably heard about, has been a kind of a separate project in terms of going in and doing kind of some temporary shoring in the chemical storage area. That work was done several months ago to provide at least kind of a temporary relief for a structural issue there. And so, as I mentioned earlier, part of this process will include a rate study. So currently the county's using a declining rate structure where the structure is such that larger volume users are paying a lower unit costs. The current rates are for 5,000 gallons, a little over 57,000. 57,000, that'd be a tough monthly bill. $57. Yeah. Yeah, I think we'd all just decide to go dirty if it was 57,000 a month. But the graph on the right, comes from SRF, and what your current rates are, is a factor in terms of grant eligibility. Because they want to make sure that that, water systems are, charging appropriate rates and make sure they're recovering their cost and able to reinvest. And so that red line shows, again, as I mentioned, the combined water sewer rates of a little over $57 a month. So that's kind of where that lines up. Now the x-axis is a little more complicated to explain, but that really depends on what's the annualized cost for a particular project. But I think what this graph is, the message here is that you can see that if you increase the rates, you would kind of move into a zone where the county would be, more eligible for SR grants. So, whereas the rate study will, kind of do the math and the accounting, there's also, some other considerations in terms of setting rates and being able to access some additional funding sources in the future. As I mentioned earlier, the AIA study will be complete later this year. A part of that will be identified a full list of the needs and reinvestment needed in the water supply and water treatment infrastructure. A couple of months ago, the county requested, well, what's a list of some of the higher priority needs, and kind of recognizing that there's a lot of investment needed, and so I think you guys wanted to have, give us a sense of, what are the highest needs, so that you can start thinking about funding sources. And so this slide kind of highlights some of those needs, but we identified $102 million in immediate needs for the water treatment plant, and so it's kind of a list broken down in some of the areas at the plant and what the projected cost may be to rehabilitate and upgrade those parts of the plant. And then next, Ian's going to talk about the AIA on the wastewater side.
Yeah. So on the wastewater side, we've been looking at a few different things, almost as many as we've been looking at on the drinking water side. So the Brown Creek pump station assessment, that condition assessment was delivered to the county this week, at least in the draft form. That will be finalized in a few weeks as we get comments back, if there are any. But that was conducted just a high-level assessment of that pump station, looking at its capacity and the structural elements, really comprehensive of all the different components you saw us look at with the drinking water plant. One thing to note is that pump station can't handle the increased flow from Marshville, and there's an agreement in place to receive flow from Marshville in the future. So it's fitting that it needs to be replaced. It needs to be upsized. So there's also operational units assessment going on at the wastewater plant inside the fence there, and that's looking at the anaerobic digestion, and that report is also being drafted right now along with the many others that we're working on for you. There's also a rate study going on the wastewater side. That dovetails really nicely with the drinking water rate study as well, and hope to deliver both of those in tandem to you guys. Another item that we're looking at is the lead service line inventory and the lead and copper rule revisions. And I'm going to hand that back over to Dave.
Yeah, so EPA has updated the lead and copper rule, and actually a couple of different phases. And I think everybody's probably aware that the issues that occurred up in Flint, Michigan, and so revising this rule in big part was in response to that. So it came out in two different phases. One focused on lead service line inventory, and then they had another part of the rule that was called lead and copper rule improvements. I won't go into a ton of detail because those two rules have a lot of requirements, and they're super complicated, typical for EPA. Oh Lord, this has got. Man, I don't know who put all the animation in there. But the lead and copper rule, the two different phases, I mean, again, there's a lot to them, have a lot of different aspects from really making utilities go out and identifying the materials that they have in the ground, and really find where they might have lead or copper, and if there is lead, I mean, you're required to replace that within a 10-year period. There's also some changes to how utilities were, sampling and monitoring for lead and copper. Changes to, how you should reach out to the public or notify based on those results. And then corrosion control really speaks more to kind of the water treatment plant, how the treatment process is. What are you doing there to try to minimize lead and copper releases into the potable water? Yeah, this is a fairly brief table, which you can see there's a ton of different deadlines. So there's a lot to this rule, pretty complex. The most important date, though, is that first one, October 16th of this year. The initial service line inventory is due, and we have been working on this, and are expecting to be able to hit that date and get that inventory into the state. So that concludes kind of our update. Any comments or any questions on anything we presented here tonight?
Mr. Chairman? I was curious, when you look at 5,000 gallon a month as a representation, wouldn't it be closer to 2,000 gallons a month if we were looking at realistic for the citizens, for the customer?
That, I think that, you may be correct in that. I think in terms of that chart that I was showing, I believe the basis for that was 5,000 gallons a month. So I think that's why we were reporting it that way in terms of that chart.
Yeah, and I know that states
comparing monthly cost. Yeah, that's kind of built around what the bill would be for a 5,000 gallon per month consumption. So.
And that 5,000 gallons is a standard number that's just used for formulas to be able to make a graph.
But I just wanted to point that out so the citizens don't think that particular number represents their bill when 5,000 is a lot more than they would use on average.
Yeah, no, good point.
Yeah. So, and then my other question, on the Brown Creek pump station and the limited capacity, does the Lanes Creek pump station not have less capacity than Brown Creek?
I believe you're correct.
So wouldn't that be a priority first then?
There's some stipulations on the grant money that's been allowed on how that grant money can be applied, and we'll have to be in discussion about that as we get more into the details. But the first hurdle was to get that Brown Creek condition assessment report to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
I've got go ahead.
Oh, Mr. Chairman, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your train of thought.
Go right ahead.
I have one question. Could we go back to slide number 9, the project schedule for the filter work?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I want to make sure I'm understanding this. If we execute in the construction contracts by the end of this year, when will the project be completed?
Great question. I believe we were anticipating a construction duration of about a year and a half.
So a year and a half to 2 years?
Yeah.
So if you look at the end of this year, if we hold that date, and that's when contracts are executed, if we put a couple months in there for the contractor to mobilize, and then that 18 months to execute, I think 20 months is probably a fair estimate. But I do want to mention that it's all dependent on the approval from the different agencies in the permitting phase right now. We're waiting on that, so that's dependent. Getting that back to the rest of the schedule is dependent on that, right?
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And that answered my question exactly. That's what I had wrote down. So,
I will say on that project, there's, once you get a contractor going, there's not a lot of options to speed it up, in that we got to limit how many filters are out of service at a time, so we can only kind of box them in and say, get this work done, and then you can move to the next one. So it's very linear.
but that will not affect the water quality or the usage of the water plant while we're making those renovations, correct?
No.
Okay. All right, any other questions for Hazen and Sawyer? Comments?
Thank you for being here. I really appreciate the update.
Yeah, thank you for inviting us.
I definitely appreciate it as well, and Mr. Salson's given us updates based on what you've been telling him, and we sure appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Commissioner.
We appreciate it. Clerk Cannon, do you know, have they got the audio corrected? Okay, so we'll hold on for a brief second. There's been an issue with the audio on the live stream. We'll see if Mr. McCoy can get it corrected.
I'm on the agenda tonight to bring y'all an update on the tax administration here in the county. I'm going to cover all that's concerning the tax office at this point. That'll be collections. Just want to make a comment or two about planning. I want to address a little bit about DMV. Then I want to talk just briefly about the 2026 revaluation. The tax office is currently, we have 2 vacancies in the tax office. One of them has been vacant for some time, but over the last 24 to 36 months, we have actually hired 3 appraisers to fill that one position. 2 left for a better offer or a better job elsewhere. The 3rd one that we hired was processed through HR, was scheduled to come to work, and had a family medical or some kind of an emergency, and basically then declined, in other words, the offer that we had made them. So technically we are 2 short, 1 primary, the other one that we're short is actually in addition to the tax office that was created through the peer review. It was a recommendation for additional staff, and there were some other recommendations also as you read that report. Both positions, the one that is vacant and we've had all along, and the additional position that was recommended by the peer review committee, they're both funded for 24-25. So we're not going to ask for additional funding or anything in order to fill those positions. The second position, which was the recommendation from the peer review, we actually have not advertised that position at this point. I'm going to work with HR to define the job description specifically, and then we'll put it out there, in other words, and fill that position. But it is not actually advertised at this point, but they are in the budget. For 2024-25, in my budget proposal, my part-time help, which I had used at different areas in the tax office, I had used some in collections, used some in DMV, I also used it in the assessment side of it. And that's fine that, you know, we have that opportunity, but in the 24-25 budget, that part-time help was taken out of my budget. And so with these vacancies, it creates a load on the tax office until we can fill these positions, of not having that opportunity to have part-time help in to shift around in the office to where we need it. Now, if we're full staffed, we don't need it. But as long as we're, you know, short like this, it creates a little bit of a burden on us. I want to talk a little bit about some of the things we're going to do different and some things we're moving to do different. This year, which has been mentioned before, we're going to be outsourcing our bill printing and mailing this year. I had worked with Gardner on this 2 or 3 months ago. We did all the printing in-house last year, but with the AS400 going away, which we replaced it, you know, with a newer system, Gardner said, you've got to do something about the way we're doing our printing and our mailing of our bills. He said, we're piecemealing it to get it out. And so I went outside and got quotes, and so we will be outsourcing the property tax bills, the BPPs, which is the business personal property, which is about 1,400 accounts. Of course, the property tax bills is about 21,000. And then we'll be doing the IPPs, which is the individual personal property accounts, which is about 4,500 accounts. All that we're actually asking to be done to the outside is the printing and the mailing. We're not shifting the burden for data entry or any information going into the system in order to produce this, what we're talking about. So we still doing like we always have on the data entry side, and we are working now, and we're finishing up, we're not there, but we're working now to finish the data entry for the printing of the property tax bills. And if you remember, we were late last year getting the property tax bills out due to the system change, and we're pretty much on schedule this year. We definitely, I don't think we actually sent them out last year till about October. We're targeting to get them out of there early August this year, which is only 3 or 4 weeks away. So hopefully, in other words, we'll be able to meet that. Some other projects that the tax office has been working on, which I've spoken to several commissioners about, it's been concerns of theirs, is that on the property tax bills, the township was wrong as it was printed on the bill. I mean, a bill going in to Morven might have had Polkton as the township. It wasn't violating anything about the content that was on the property tax bill. It was just posting nowhere as the wrong township. So for the 24 tax bills will be correct. We have got that pretty much under our saddle now, and so hopefully that'll take away some of the calls that you've been getting based on why does my property say it's in Polkton and when it's here, whatever. So that'll take care of that. We've also been working on a project splitting Lanesboro, the fire district. That will be complete for the 24 bills. And when I say complete, I'm not going to say totally complete, but the fire tax will be billed on the real property side correctly for 24. The only caveat there is to that is that there's also fire tax charged on vehicles. And so the right amount of fire tax will go, and we've named those just as they are, Peaceland Fire District, Polkton Fire District. The money coming in off the real value, that's where most of the value's at, will be distributed properly and be appropriate. The state owns the VTS system which we operate, which is the vehicle tax system. And they control, in other words, the management and the updating and all the integral parts. In other words, build these vehicles in the right place. And as you know, real property don't move around, but vehicles do. So the state is definitely working with us, in other words, to get that VTS, the vehicle tax system, coordinated to the 2 fire districts. But that's all, in other words, it won't be totally complete. But I believe, and from what information we can pull from the system, we can determine the values of these systems. We can determine the value so that that part of the tax can be distributed like it should be. But we'll just do that on the manual side instead of it being done automatically when the vehicle bills is. We don't even touch the vehicle bills anymore. In other words, they come straight from the state to the taxpayer. So that will be taken care of just as soon as we can get it done, but we won't have it done when the property tax bills go out. But the property tax bills will be right. It'll just be vehicles we'll have to adjust. So we'll take care of that. Update on the software, it's getting better. And we're still pleased with the decision that commissioners made to move from where we were at to where we're at now. We're still not 100%. We're still making some adjustments. We're still doing some updates. Every county does different. So when they came in here and put the system in, they knew we were going to want to do some unique things that they either probably are doing or are not doing in every county. But it's a work in progress. It's getting better, and it's more efficient. And we made a good change. That was a good move. I want to talk a little bit about collections. Collections is fully staffed at this point. We are working, and we have actively now began to get back into the garnishment program, to where we're garnishing now taxpayers who are delinquent or haven't paid their taxes. There's some resources, not resources, but there's some things we can tap to expedite that, such as we can use the major manufacturers or businesses in the county, in other words, to get these names and to get this information so we can garnish them through their workplace. Hornwood, Premier Fibers, Columbus McKinney, Southern Fab, Triangle, Brick, et cetera, et cetera. We're working on those fields now to get those in place to where we can garnish those. We're still doing payment plans. Payment plans is not as dependable as garnishments and things, or bank attachments, which we'll mention later. But we can actually collect the money. If we can come into a payment plan with the taxpayer, we can actually get the money quicker from a payment plan than we can from a garnishment, because we're capped at how much of a garnishment we can take from a person's check. So we are pushing for payment plans. We have reviewed all the payment plans that we have done in the past, and those that have defaulted on those payment plans, they're being notified that they're going to foreclosure. And once the taxpayer enters into a plan with us for payment, we don't enter into another plan with them again. So we're working on that. We send in letters before we actually start any kind of foreclosure process or anything, notifying them, in other words, that they've been reviewed. Without them responding, in other words, then we will then take the next step to move forward. I met with Keeney Law Firm on Thursday of last week. They came here. We are continuing to send foreclosures to them. We had some foreclosures that were like 2 to 3 years old sitting with them. And I asked them, I said, why do we not move this forward? And they said, well, we didn't think that they were marketable, but I told them, I said, well, that's not a reason to hold them. I mean, let's notify them and let's move forward. So the ones, there was probably, not that many, probably 20, 25 that was on hold by their observation and call. And they're moving them forward, and we're going to, we'll just go ahead and process them and get them in there. We had about 30 properties that were unknown properties. I mean, unknown, we don't know who the owner was. And I inherited a lot of those, not a lot of them, I read. And we've not done any unknown since I've been here, but those 30 properties we don't know who they belong to. And I asked the law firm, I said, well, what can we do with them? I mean, how can we find the owner and how can we process them? I mean, it's money the county don't have, it hadn't had. And they said that they could go ahead and process them and they could go ahead and foreclose them. So they're moving those to the front. In other words, to go ahead and get those unknown properties off of our books so we quit carrying them forward. When you look, let me say this. You probably know that we have a link on the website for Keena Law Firm. If you don't, there is listing the foreclosures that we have in process right now. If you go on their law firm, go on their link, it's actually listed under tax assessing, and it's also listed under collections. So if you click on that link on either one of those drop down, you can access a complete list of what we've got out there that we're moving forward and foreclosing on. We're looking at, we haven't done any bank account attachments, but we're looking into that. And it's amazing phone calls. Phone calls help. It urges people when they see the necessity of it, that what the county it can do. It helps. It picks up the collection rate. Debt set off, we're going to use that. And another thing in collections, and I think this has been brought up with me and one of the other commissioners, but one of the commissioners, we got to focus on some training in tax collections. So we want to focus on training. There's plenty out there, the state, school of government, etc. They're usually week classes or something like that, 5 days or whatever. We want to see that we can get our staff trained. In other words, to do the job, in other words, that we need done. And also, one of the drives of the changes that we've made over the last year or two was to look at the front office up there and all, and to address cross-training. In other words, from collections to DMV or DMV to collections, or either one of those two offices, even back to the tax office. So we are working on that, already done a little bit of that cross-training. We want to continue to keep that up and have everybody ready to perform, at wherever we take them. DMV, we've had an employee out on FMLA, which will be back on Monday, so that department will be fully staffed again. We've actually kept DMV open during lunch, even though we've been short-staffed. They do allow us to close for an hour if we are short-staffed, but we've kept it open because we find that a lot of people come in there on their lunch hour, and they'll just scoot up there to get their tag renewed or whatever, while they got a few minutes. So that's why we decided to keep it open, just as a customer service format. Just a brief comment about the planning department. We're interviewing Thursday for that position, so that's moving ahead, and I think there's like 3 candidates, in other words, that we'll be interviewing on Thursday. I will tell you that this countywide zoning has proliferated, if that's a word, the calls. I mean, the phone is ringing. And it's not critical. I mean, it's not bad. It's not bad. They just don't know. And so they're calling to find out what they can do, what they can't do, what the guidelines are. It's from attorneys, it's from real estate agents, it's from surveyors, it's from taxpayers, it's from investors. But like I said, they're just inquiring to know what they can and can't do with the properties they're either looking at buying or they already own. So that's kind of where we're at there. I want to talk a little bit about revaluation. It's moving forward. We actually have started that process. There's more going on behind the scenes than you can visibly see right now. There's some things that have to be adjusted into the new system. It's already part of it, but it has to be activated. In other words, it's for us to start data entry. IT is working with Vitech. We do have our computer tablets that we will take to the field, and everything will be computerized this year in the field. At night when they come in other words, those tablets will actually upload to the main system without having to do physically the data entry. So they're working with us on that. I wanted to, if we can, or we will, once we start into the field, which is not very far off, I want us to put stuff on the website. I want us to put some newspaper ads out there saying we're in the field. This is the 2026 revaluation. And of course, the people that are in the field will have signs on their cars saying so. So we are moving ahead with that. We're not behind schedule on revaluation, but we are getting started, and there's a lot being done, or at least a number of things being done behind the scenes. Any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
One question on the reval, will that be completed in 26 or in effect for 26?
It'll be in effect for
Okay.
26.
Okay.
Actually, we have to, even though we'll have up to the tax bills go out in August to still be doing work on 26, but the schedule of values that all the properties will be priced at, that has to be presented to the commissioners in November of 2025.
Okay.
But then we do have up till August till the bills go out in 26 if we want to make any adjustments. Not in changes in value, but other changes that might have to be made.
Okay, thanks.
I just want to say thanks for keeping the tag office. The citizens really appreciate that y'all kept that open during that time.
Thank you. Any other questions? I'd be glad to answer them.
Yes, that's right.
Go ahead, Chris.
No.
Okay, just a couple of things, I guess, and I don't know if you can answer this one or not, but you mentioned outsourcing the printing and mailing of tax bills, so that should free up some time. I don't know how much that will free up for that person or people to do other things, and that's what I think.
It will. It's been a change too for a lot of for the finance department and for us. When we were running the AS400 and all the reports were being generated out of that inside source, I will say this: it will save us some time. It's not the property tax bills, even though there's a lot of them, they're done on postcard. So I mean, we would print them through a pen printer before, and then we would send them through a burster to burst them. We didn't hardly have to handle them a lot.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So yes, though it will answer your question. Yes, it will save some time in the tax office.
Okay. And I guess the other thing you mentioned is debt set-off. So we're currently not in debt set-off, but we're working to get there?
That's right. That has not been exercised, and I don't know that it's ever been exercised in the tax office for a long time, but no, you're right. It's not, but it will. And especially with tax season coming up,
right.
It's a prime time to get into that.
Yeah.
that.
I was just kind of surprised that we weren't in that, but that's neither here nor there. And I guess the last thing is that, the law firm that's handling foreclosures now, they fully understand that it's not their call to determine whether the property is marketable, that if it comes up to foreclosure to them, they need to move on it.
What they know is that they don't put it on hold.
Right, okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Hockett.
Mr. Chairman, just one question. First of all, I really appreciate the update. There's a lot of things going on down there that I didn't know about, and really appreciate your leadership, Larry. Question I have is, you made note that you need a part-time person to help you out while you're short-staffed. What's standing in the way of you hiring that person?
Well, they like I said, they took out all my part-time budget. In other words, I had $10,000 last year in part-time budget. They took that out. Now, I will say this. I can still pull somebody in part-time, and we have 2 positions that are funded, which both of them are vacant at this point, so we got lapsed salaries, in other words, that I could use if finance will let me.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I sure hope that the finance department will allow Mr. Newton to use those funds for the part-time help that he needs now.
Actually, it's not the finance department's decision, it's this board's decision. If you remember back during budget discussions, whenever we were talking about it, it was the board's decision at that time that it would be better to be fully staffed, not have a part-time person. So that was the decision that was made. So if you want to add, Larry says he's got 5,000, 10,000, whatever that number is, till he is fully staffed, then he do it. But I would not want to slow up getting fully staffed, because like he said, once he gets a full staff, he'll probably be more effective and efficient in doing the jobs, and you won't need a part-time person. But I understand you need one, if you're not fully staffed.
Yes, sir, that was the discussion with the commissioners we had that budget time was, instead of having a part-time budget, let's get fully staffed.
And I don't need part-time if I'm full.
That was the train of
But
thought.
I do need something now, just to tie me over.
So, okay. Wait,
What is this on here? My district is District 7. You got Matt Carpenter to represent District 7 on behalf of Commissioner Smith. What is that?
That's not him.
That's not Mr. Newton, Mr. Smith.
That's the Ag.
That's the Ag Advisory Board. That's coming up next.
Okay, I thought that was him.
I'm assuming the board can make a decision on the part-time salary at a future meeting. But I think it is the board's pleasure to move as fast as possible to get fully staffed in that department since it was funded.
Yeah, and I just need it temporarily, and if we just take it from, lap salary, it's there anyway.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and I haven't discussed this with finance since the budget, okay? But I knew it was out of my budget, and if I can get some of it back, at least in those lap salaries, it'll help me over this place I'm at.
Yeah.
If it's the board's pleasure, and then what I'd like to suggest is that maybe Mr. Newton and yours truly here, and Holly and I sit down and talk, Holly being our finance director, take a look at it. He can probably have an estimate in terms of how long he's going to need someone. And because what I would not want to do is say, yeah, we're going to do it, and then do it for like 10 days, and all of a sudden he needs it for 20 days.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. I think realistically, y'all three need to get together to set a time of, how long it's going to take. But I don't want to stop in getting that department fully staffed.
No, and I don't either, and like I said, I haven't discussed it with finance, so, I mean, I knew it was out, but I haven't discussed with doing what we were talking about doing.
Okay.
Since we meet every 2 weeks now, would 2 weeks be enough time to get a decision back to us to vote on?
I don't think so.
Yeah, because what we could do is determine a number and bring that back to you at your next meeting. As a budget amendment, which you have, you've seen those all the time.
And that was going to be my recommendation to you, to Mr. Newton and the county managers, and is to get together whoever you need to get to, and to develop a plan as to, with the forecast of how long it's going to take to get fully staffed. And once we know that, then you'll know how long you need a part-time person for. And I was going to say you can move ahead with it since you've got lap salaries, but if you want to bring the numbers back to us, that might be even better.
It's up to the board. You can make a decision tonight and say, go ahead and start that process, make the amendment. If he can hire somebody as a part-time fairly quickly, then we can bring it back. And what's the Latin term, not pro-tunc now for them?
Not pro-tunc.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be my recommendation, have us something by the next meeting. In other words, working on it. If you get it figured out and can go ahead and move forward with it, that's fine. Just kind of give us an update at our next meeting.
Right, because I can tell the difference in terms of what's happening, or like Larry said, he's got a lot of things going on, and not all of us in collections or garnishments or attachments or whatever. It's all the other things that go with it, which hopefully, like you said, if we get our tax bills out, if he does in early August, that's phenomenal.
And the zoning, until you get the planning board, is also contributing a lot towards your time, so that'll be resolved soon as well.
Very true.
Mr. Newton, you said you had 2 people hired recently and they left for better jobs. What do you mean? How do you define better jobs?
Well, I tell you what generally happens is that they go back to where they came, they get a better offer once the people found out they lost them.
All right.
and they make them a better offer. They said, I can't turn it down.
Sure,
So
understand.
that happens.
All right, thank you.
Anything else? I'll be glad to.
Any other questions for Mr. Newton?
We'll just say we appreciate all you're doing and thank you for the update.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
That concludes our appearances for tonight. Madam Clerk says there's no public addresses to the board. So we're going to move on to our appointments. You'll see in your packet here that we have 3 appointments for the Anson Ag Advisory Board. Those 3 appointments are listed there for three different districts. So any discussion on those 3 appointments?
Make a motion to approve.
I second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Woodburn, second by Commissioner Bricken to approve the 3 appointments to the Anson Ag Advisory Board. Any discussion?
For the record, would you mention their names, please?
Yes. All right. District 3, we have Mr. George Short. District 4, we have Mr. Eddie Edwards. And in District 7, we have Mr. Matt Carpenter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. No further discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right, next we have an appointment to the ABC Board. I'll entertain a motion to appoint Jeremy Taylor to serve on the ABC Board.
I make a motion to appoint Jeremy Taylor to serve on the ABC Board.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Bricken, second by Commissioner Gatewood to appoint Jeremy Taylor to serve on the ABC Board. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right, next we have the Region F Agent Advisory Committee. We have an appointment and reappointment to this committee. Miss Angela DePietro, delegate reappointment. Thomasina Spencer would be an alternate. Marie Reed would be a delegate appointment. And Linda Jones would be a delegate appointment. Do we have any, do I have a motion to make those appointments?
So moved.
I have a motion by Commissioner Gatewood.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Little Reed. Any discussion on those 4 appointments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And then last on the appointments, we have the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners, the annual conference. We have to make a motion for a voting delegate and an alternate for the annual conference business meeting that's scheduled in August.
I'd like to make a motion that Mr. Woodburn serve.
Okay, I think Mr. Woodburn has served in the past, so
Yes.
he's willing to serve
I
again.
second the motion.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Gatewood, second by Commissioner Bricken to nominate Mr. Woodburn as our voting delegate. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. And I believe we have to do an alternate as well, right? Okay. So this time I'll entertain motion for an alternate.
Like, who else going? I said, who else going?
I believe you have confirmed, Mr. Carter has confirmed, Mr. LaFree has confirmed, and Mr. Mills.
Okay.
Make a motion that Mr. Cottle serve as our alternate.
A second.
I'll be happy to.
All right.
Have a motion by Commissioner Gatewood, second by Commissioner Woodburn to nominate myself as the alternate for the NCACC Annual Conference. Any discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Is that done? All right, next, we have under administrative matters, we have the county attorney contract. If you remember, we did not approve this at our last meeting. There was one item that was changed in that contract. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve this contract.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion to approve the county attorney's contract for fiscal year 24 through 25.
Second.
That's, okay, sorry. Not as a second, I've just got one question. On item 6, where it says term of contract, says July 1st, 2024 through June 1st. Should that be June 30th? Or June 1st, correct?
Mr. Forbes, can you explain that, or is it a typo?
I'm sorry, did y'all not want to do it for the fiscal year?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but it says July 1st to June the 1st. July 1st begins the fiscal year, but
June 30th.
June 30th is the end of the fiscal year. So
Correct.
I'm just wondering why it's June 1st and not June 30th.
Been a typo on my part.
Unless you were gonna take that month off.
We'll deduct that from the pay.
Thank you
There you
very
go.
much. I didn't charge for that.
All right, we're good to go ahead and approve the contract.
With that correction.
With that correction
So is that-
in there, okay?
Who has to remake the motion?
Make a motion that we approve the county attorney's contract for fiscal year 24, 25,
All right.
commencing on July 1st, 24, and ending on June 30th, 25.
There you go.
And I would second that.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Gatewood, second by Commissioner Bricken to approve the county contract for the fiscal year 24-25. Any discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, moving on to the manager's report.
The first item is something that was carried over from a previous meeting, and that is the Central Iowa Council of Government's proposal to us to do a strategic plan. The cost of it would be $30,000. And I know when the board had talked about who could be working on it, I would probably be involved, but also our county clerk would be involved working with Ms. Gardner and Ms. Hawkins and some of the rest of them at Central Iowa. So that's up for your vote, or what your pleasure might be.
Okay, thank you. So what's the board's pleasure on Central Iowa contract, strategic planning contract?
Make a motion that we approve the contract, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Okay.
One question. Mr. Salzman, do you approve of that contract?
Yes, sir. $30,000 is not a bad price for it, and I know they have actually done them for a number of municipalities and counties in the Central Iowa region.
All right, so we have a motion by Commissioner Gatewood, second by Commissioner Woodburn to approve the Central Iowa strategic planning contract. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right, next.
Next is the proposed First Baptist Church parking lot agreement. They've made a couple of different offers to us. This one was one that would be costing the county nothing for repairs. The church would undergo all repairs and maintenance, but it would cost the county $10,000 a year. They would have to notify us if they had some kind of special event, wedding, funeral, or whatever during the times that county employees would be parking there. And it's my understanding that from a member of their board of deacons, that they have discussed it, and this is their offer.
Okay. I know we've been back and forth on this for a few times now, so I'll entertain a motion to approve it as it is written today.
Mr. Chairman, I make that motion.
I second it, Mr. Chairman.
All right, have a motion by Commissioner Gatewood, second by Commissioner Woodburn to approve the parking lot agreement with First Baptist Church. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
And I'm not, since she's here, I'm not suggesting that it come out of Miss Jackson's budget. It comes from- Yes, ma'am. Just wanted to make sure there was no concern there. But,
I didn't know that was an option.
well, it's up to the board now.
No.
But, the next item is the municipality tax collection agreement. Per state law, this is on your agenda because, as you probably know, the county collects the taxes for all the municipalities with the exception of Louisville, and it also collects it for the different fire districts and also the county at large. By state law, we have to have an agreement with each one of those. So, Ms. Cannon and I, along with our county attorney, we have gone through it, and also our tax administrators, that everybody's happy with it. And it's a 5% collection fee, which is fairly standard. And once you agree this, then we'll get I guess a reciprocal one done from each one of the municipalities. But we have to do this, or else Mr. Newton and his staff are not allowed to collect taxes for anybody other than the county at large.
Okay, and the fee is the same, I mean, in other words, we've already been charging the 5% fee.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so, all right. At this time, is there any discussion on the tax collection agreement?
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion that we approve an interlocal agreement for tax collection.
All right.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Woodburn, second by Commissioner Gatewood to approve the interlocal agreement for tax collections. Any other discussion on that? All right, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
just so you know, that just memorialized everything they've been doing for.
They've been doing the same thing, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
So
Nothing
just
new.
memorialized.
So thank you for that.
Next item. We had a brief discussion of this when David Riley and Ian Yancey were talking with Hazen and Sawyer about all the things they're doing with water and sewer. This is the lead service line contract. We've been approved to receive $1 million, and 60% of it will be forgiven. It would be like a grant, if you will. So if we don't take it, and as you heard, then we're required to do all of these lead service line and lead copper line updates. This at least gets us almost like a BOGO, I guess you might say. So I'd like to recommend that you do it.
All right. So what's the board's pleasure on the lead service line contract?
I make a motion, we move forward with lead service contract.
I second it.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Bricken, second by Commissioner Priscilla, I'm sorry, Commissioner Little Reed, sometimes I want to say the whole name, to approve the lead service line agreement. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
And the next item, grievance ordinance committee, pursuant to Article 8 in the board's human resources or personnel ordinance, if you will, there's a provision that you have a grievance committee, and I've had a grievance presented to me. I've reviewed it, and that person, I didn't change the decision of that committee. That was an in-house committee made up of personnel that did the interviews. So I upheld their decision because it was a unanimous decision to move forward with what they were doing. So the person disagrees, and of course, pursuant to the ordinance, they can appeal it. My understanding they're going to do so, but right now, it's my understanding the board has never had a personnel grievance committee, and the qualifications, and I'm sure the attorney will agree, is that it's made up of 3 people, qualified voters of Anson County. And so there's no disqualification for commissioners or staff or the general public. It just says that at least 2 of them have to have some understanding and the support for HR policies and procedures.
I was thinking that at least one of them has to be somebody that has an HR background, because I know that was in the past, because the HR person where I worked served on it.
Yes, sir. And there's not one now.
Right.
I've had Miss Ingram check her files, and there hasn't been one for a while, so
Right.
now's the time to do it. And it's my understanding, and our attorney can correct me if I'm wrong here, on this stated that if the board doesn't appoint one, then I think by default, the agreements would come directly to the commissioners.
That's correct.
Okay. So if we approve this, I guess, committee tonight, will we come back and appoint the 3 members at our next meeting?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, all right, any other discussion on the?
Are those members that we recommend, or would names be given to us to serve on it?
That's up to you. You can ask us to come back with a list of names, and we'll be glad to do so. And if there's any member of the board that would like to volunteer, then that's applicable, like I said. But even with the grievance committee, and they make a decision and the person doesn't agree with it, they can still appeal it to this board, which would be the appeal of last resort, if you will.
Okay.
And that is why I was going to interject that I would suggest that a board member does not join that part, because then it would negate them from being able to be on the appeals committee.
Yeah, we don't need to hear it twice.
So I would think that if you could bring those names before that to us at the next meeting, would that work out with the board?
And if it's your pleasure, I'll try to bring back more than 3, which is what would be the composite of the board. And that way you can, because there may be a difference of opinions.
Yep.
And maybe 3 with an alternate, just in case.
Okay. Yeah, my experience has always been that you would have a 5 members that were selected, like 2 alternates.
Okay, good.
And that way, for instance, if they're employees and you have somebody from, say, the tax office, as just an example, then you would not want Larry, if he was one of those selectees, to serve on it, because he's already been there, as you said.
Right.
Same thing for finance or water, sewer, you name it.
Yeah, would give you some flexibility in the member hearing that grievance.
Right.
Okay. All right, so at this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the grievance ordinance committee.
So moved.
Have a motion.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Little Reed, second by Commissioner Woodburn. Any other discussion on that? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
And the last one is something that came up at a previous meeting, a Water Resources Director position, and that's just on there for, because if I remember right, the board wanted to take it for information and decide whether they're going to do something or not do something. So that's just on there for you to discuss it tonight or move it forward, whatever.
I'd like to recommend we defer this to our next meeting, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Can we
That's
make
my
that a motion?
motion.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. All right, so we have a motion to defer the Water Resource Director position until our following meeting in August.
I second it.
We have a motion by Commissioner Gatewood, second by Commissioner Little Reed. Any other discussion on that? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, unanimous. All right. That concludes the manager's report, unless you've got anything else.
The only thing I'd say last but not least is it's been asked before lots of times, not the audit, you know where that is.
October 31st.
October 31st.
Of 2024.
That's what they keep telling us. Yes, sir, not 25, but 24. But the last one is that the 74 East Gravity Sewer Line is complete.
All right.
Excellent.
Yes, sir.
Great news.
And I think we're anticipating getting the final request for payment any day.
Okay. Thank you for that update.
Yes,
I've got a question about that line. Did it make it to McCray Road, or did it stop right there on this side of the parking lot?
It went under Whispering Pines.
Yeah, no, it went under there, but that's where the manhood, but I'm just wondering, I didn't see anything, I'm not saying it didn't, I'm just wondering, because all of the time that we talked about it was supposed to make it all the way over to McCray Road, is where it was supposed to terminate at.
It's not across the parking lot.
No, it stopped at the corner of Whispering Pines and the parking lot.
Wow, okay.
And I thought that's where it was supposed to go.
Right, that was the original design.
Okay, well, I guess I misunderstood something, I thought it was supposed to go to
It would be nice, because then they would have to dig up that parking lot.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I got a question, Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
When are they gonna go in there and complete the renovations? Cause they still haven't put the walls or anything in.
Where's this?
in the building. In the little mini strip.
Okay. I didn't know which building, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I don't know. I've asked him recently about tenant selection and processes, and it was, he didn't come out and say he didn't have tenants, but he did say he did have tenants. If that makes sense.
Okay, well, I was just saying, because I know I looked in there and the walls, they're not finished, on the floors.
Right.
But he was rushing us to finish with the line.
Yes, ma'am. But like I say, it is finished.
What I've understood from him all along is it'll be finished as the tenants are identified. That way he can do it to fit their needs as opposed to doing something, then have to, redo it or tear something out or that type of thing, so.
Well, did he tell you he had some tenants?
He did way back when, but I've not heard anything lately that he's got anybody.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Chairman, I've been getting questions on this as well. I'd like to suggest that at some point we invite Mr. Wallace in and make his presentation to the board and give us an update, please.
Okay. I will make that happen.
Thank you.
I have one question, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman.
Yes, sir.
On the Water Resource Director position, since a lot of the information from the audit and some of the concerns of the LGC had to do with our water department, is there any way to get some feedback from the LGC on what they would think of us hiring the Water Resource Director position, to get some feedback from them on what they would think?
I can ask, but to be brutally honest, lots of times the state folks don't like to get involved in making recommendations like that, because if it doesn't achieve the necessary goal, then we're going to blame them. And if it does, that type of thing, it's a lot of finger pointing.
But they give us recommendations on rate increase schedules and things like that, so you would think they would.
Yeah, they do even stronger recommendations. I mean, sometimes it's almost like a demand performance.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
I can ask the folks at NCACC what they think. I know Commissioner Woodburn is going to the upcoming meeting. Could also check with some of those folks up there and what they think about having that type of engineer or whatever.
Okay. Is that all?
Yeah, I appreciate it.
All right. Anything else from the manager?
No, sir. That was enough for me tonight.
But, okay. The chairman's report's next. One thing I do have, we were just presented with a resolution. I'm going to ask Attorney Forbes and Sheriff Howell to discuss the resolution.
The resolution has to do with the transportation of involuntary commitments, and that's been a thorn on our side and the hospital side ever since I came in office with Sheriff Reed. Prior administrations was using deputies to take trips all over the state, taking involuntary commitments to places. We come up and made a decision that we'd use the jail personnel to do that and not take a deputy off the road to make those transportations. Now that we're shorthanded in the jail, it's either who's available that can make those transportation. The statute has been amended, and I've worked with the hospital for 7 or 8 years on this involuntary commitments, housing them there and having people do security work there. And they've been very helpful and looked out for resources and stuff. The statute has changed to where the hospital can hire its own group of people as a private company that works for the hospital to make those transportations. So it's a win-win for us. They provide their own training, their own vehicles, their own insurance, and we're held harmless for any person that they transport. And they transport them on their schedule. Sometimes the conflict was that we couldn't come at the exact time that they wanted or found a bed open. Sometimes they would miss that bed and the person would have to stay at the hospital longer. So, and we were by statute and mandate to be there at a certain time, however we couldn't comply with it. And so now, working with the hospital, like I say, it's a blessing. They've been very proactive in trying to get this done, and basically through their connections and through the other hospital systems, was able to come up with this after the statute had been changed, and so it has to be a resolution signed that the Board of Commissioners approve that we let them transport their own IVC patients.
Okay. So I have this resolution here. It's the board's pleasure to approve this resolution.
I'll make a motion to, based on the sheriff's recommendation, I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
I will second it.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Woodburn, second by Commissioner Bricken to approve the resolution supporting involuntary commitment transport services with Atrium Health Hospitals. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. So, thank you. So, it is approved. All right. One last item. I just want to remind everyone of the annual conference coming up. The North Carolina Association of County Commissioners annual conference, August 8th through the 10th, will be in Forsyth County. Please let Madam Clerk know if you are attending. Please let her know if you are not going to attend as well. That way she will know everyone is accounted for. Again, that's August 8th through the 10th in Winston-Salem. And that is all I have. So are there any other commissioner concerns or comments?
Mr. Chairman, I just have a couple of things. Information more than anything else. The District 10 conference is scheduled for July 22nd at 10 a.m. and that's going to be done on Zoom. And District 10 is Anson, Richmond, Montgomery, and Moore counties. I will be attending that. Well, actually, I have to because I'm the director. So.
We hope you attend.
And then also the Association of Legislative Goals are due by August the 23rd. And you can go on the Association's website. There's a Legislative Goals Handbook. And basically what that is, if there's anything that the county has as a concern or something that we would like them to work on to try to move forward, we could put that in the form of a Legislative Goals. The Legislative Goals Conference is going to be in November 14th and 15th. That's all I have.
And where will that be held?
The Legislative Goals Conference will more than likely be held in Raleigh at the association's office, unless they decide to do something different.
All right, thank you.
The Zoom call's on the 22nd?
The Zoom call is on the 22nd. That information has not been sent out yet, but it will be forthcoming. We'll probably get it this week.
Okay.
All right, any other commissioner comments or concerns? All right, hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Little Reed, second by Commissioner Gatewood to adjourn. Yeah, all in favor. Stand up and leave.